All right, time for some reading. You're going to get out your packet that you have for Where the Red Fern Grows. So packets are out. We're going to look at chapter 9 and 10 vocab, which you flip through a few pages here. It looks like this. Okay, so that's what we're looking for right now. You are using the vocab worksheets here on Schoology. You're going to go to vocab worksheets, and we're going to open 9 and 10. There it is. Okay, before we get started on that though, a couple of things. You have a January book report due January 29th. Some of you I have heard from about books you want to read, and I've approved those books for you to use for at least one. At least one book has to be approved by me, and it has to be an actual book. Okay, you're sending me a Schoology message of that picture if I don't have you here in class, and then I'm writing it down. I have a list. I have a list that has several of you missing and have not yet got a book selected and approved. Okay, so if I call your name, I don't have a book for you, and you need to get a book figured out because it's already January 18th, and the end of January is quickly approaching. Okay, so the following people need a book approved: Justice, Riker, Rachel, Hannah, Bradley, Mimi, Madeline, Matthew, Maverick, Anastasia. I thought we talked about one. I'll have to double check. You might have to message me on that one. Brooklyn, Ricky, let's see, Ava, Grace, Juliana, Charlie, Adam, Emmy, Eli, Jake. Let's see, last page. Carly, Alyssa, Josh, Hunter, Maya, and Claire. So some of you may have messaged me or showed it to me and I didn't write it down, so you're going to have to send me a message so I can get that written down in my collection here of those that got a book approved. Okay? So don't forget to do that. January book reports due January 29th. I'm not going to do it right now. We'll do it when we're done. Okay? The book? Well, you'll have to see if there's one back there. All right.
So where are we?
So we're going to start right now with the chapter 9 and 10 vocab paper. So that should be in front of you. And this top section here is asking you to read those sentences in the book and come up with a definition. So I have them. Let me grab them here. We're going to look at these sentences together and see what kind of definitions we can come up with. These are the sentences in the book. You don't have to write them down. Okay, they're up here, you can see them. Okay, because I realize that page numbers are a little different and these are kind of lengthy to be writing down. So you're not going to write down the sentence, we're just going to write down a definition. Okay, so the first word is droning, 9 and 10. Okay, and here are some sentences to help us figure out what that word means. It says, I was trying to rewrap my hands when I heard a low droning sound. I stood up and looked around. I could still hear the noise, but couldn't locate it. I looked up. High in the top of the big sycamore, a breeze had started the limbs to swaying. I'm going to fix that here. Okay, what do you think droning means? Here I have it underlined in bold typed. What do you think it means, Claire?
Like moaning?
Okay, good. Kind of like a moaning sound. Sean?
That sound that tree branches make when they rub against each
Kind of that like creaking, right? Groaning, so kind of a low moaning or low humming sound. Good, that's what you would write for the definition. Oh, what is there? Let me grab. No, it's not going to let me see it bigger. So up here, where it says definition, low humming or moaning sound is what you would write. I was hoping it would make it a little bigger for us, but that's all right. And don't worry about writing the sentences.
Like what I
Yeah, you're not gonna write these at all, okay? Just the definitions. If you wanna maybe write when I heard a low droning sound, you can write part of it, but I've got them up here, we're talking about them, so I know you're using them. All right, the next one is predicaments. It says, I never saw a coonhound so determined, or one that could get into so many predicaments. More than one time, it would have been the death of him if it hadn't been for smart little Anne. Who's he talking about? Who's he talking about, Juliana?
He's talking to,
Who's the one getting in the predicaments?
old Dan.
Yeah, old Dan's getting into some predicaments, and little Ann keeps helping him out. What are predicaments? What are those? Nick?
Like, kind of like in a pickle or something.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Kind of in a pickle. What does that mean? John?
Like you're stuck somewhere.
Okay, you're stuck somewhere. Sean?
You kind of need help or you can't.
Yeah, you're kind of in a difficult situation, right? You're in a situation that maybe you need help with. So predicaments are difficult situations. That's what you're gonna write for the definition. Difficult situations. Try your best at spelling. I'm not having you submit them, okay? If you're not sure how to spell difficult or situation, try your best. This needs to be open. You need to be writing. You don't need this right now. You need this, chapter 9. We've already done 2.
Okay, read chapter 9 yet?
Brendan?
We don't have the last word on here.
Yeah, you do. It's in the box down below.
Yeah. We have, I see.
The next word is abounded. Okay. Was a wonderful place to hunt as it abounded with game. So game are the things he's hunting, right? The raccoons. That's what he's calling game. All right. What does abounded mean, though? What do you think it means? Sean?
It's kind of full of something or has a lot of something.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a lot of something. So whatever you're talking about in this case, it has a lot of game. It has a lot of raccoons or things he can hunt. So abounded means to have many. Okay?
So what was the definition?
To have many. To have many, Josh. So we can do this now, or we can do this at recess. Those are your options. So I suggest you get caught up. We just did this one, to have many. And then,
Look at that big box.
yeah, there is, I was gonna see. Of course. There it is. There it is. So now I'm gonna come all the way down here is where the last word is at, coaxed, and it told me it was on page 87. And it's asking you to do a couple of different things. A definition, which we'll come up with here in a minute. An illustration, so they're wanting you to draw a picture. Okay, what might the scene look like? Okay, in this sentence I'm gonna give you. Examples, so you might write a sentence here. Okay, what's an example of the word coaxed? You might think of a synonym you want to write here. Okay, this says non-examples. So non-examples might be antonyms. Okay, it might be something that is completely the opposite. Okay, once we talk about this word here, coaxed. So let me find my sentences again. And we're going to read this last one. It says, come on, boy, I coaxed. Let's go home and get something to eat. What's he doing? What's Billy doing? Kenny?
It's like gently asking.
Yeah. He's kind of just persuading him, right? Like, it's okay, let's go. So gently trying to persuade old Dan to go with him, right?
Gently. How do you spell?
Okay, so try your best with spelling. So in the definition box, you're going to want to write gently persuade or asking.
Can I put gently or persuading?
Mm-hmm. So that goes in this box here. Okay, what would your what would your illustration look like? What might we see in a picture? Nick?
Like maybe him asking his dog.
Okay, how would we see that he's coaxing or doing it gently, though? Go ahead.
He's like kind of petting his dog.
Okay.
Saying gently.
Sure. Kind of petting, right? Maybe kind of showing him a treat, okay, that he's trying to persuade him or gently ask him to go with. Sean?
They draw him like the dog's in a bush and the boy's kind of kneeling down.
Oh, good. Yeah, the dog maybe got scared and is hiding in the bush, and the boy is kind of leaning down there, giving him, like, trying to maybe not grab him, right, forcefully, but wave his hand and say, it's okay, come here. Good. So that would be some illustration ideas. What would be an example then? Can you think of a word that might be the same as coaxed? Talked about a couple of them. Juliana?
Whisper.
Okay, so maybe you're whispering, right? You're not going to yell. So if you're coaxing, you're probably talking gently and you're whispering. Good. Sean?
Persuading.
So we talked about persuading, right? Remember, we're doing it kindly, right? Okay. Kenny?
Respectfully persuading.
Okay, so you might showing some respect, right? Okay, good. Some examples, you might use the word coax in a sentence. And then if we come over here to non-examples, what would be some opposites of this word coaxed? Nick?
Yelling.
Okay, yelling would go over there. Forcefully, right? If you're coaxing, you're not being forceful. Okay, so if Billy forcefully pulled him from that bush or whatever it was, drug him home, right? He wouldn't be very gentle. So those would be some words that were the opposite. Okay, you can draw a picture later. You can maybe fill in some more examples and non-examples, but this does not get submitted. Okay, this is for you to hold on to and look at those definitions. You'll see those on your quiz and on the test. Okay, this is like your little study guide to this packet. So you're going to hold on to that. I'm going to give you about a minute. We're going to turn to those chapter 8 questions. So I believe you read chapter 8 on Friday.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can, there we go, grab them. 7.
Letters are V-I-I-I.
Yep, a V with 3 eyes. So here are those questions you were answering. Okay. We're going to talk about these questions, and then we're going to talk about the word visualize. We're not reading a chapter today. We're going to kind of hold off. We're going to work on this visualize assignment and reviewing chapter 8. You'll have a quiz over chapters 7 through 9 Wednesday, I think. So if you didn't get through 7 or 8 at this point, you're going to want to do that. Okay?
Wait.
You've got today, and then we'll start reading some chapters again tomorrow. I think we do 9 tomorrow. Question, John.
Yeah.
3 eyes. V-I-I-I.
Wait, were we supposed to do
Yep. All right. First question wants to know, what does Papa tell Billy about the chores and why? John? Right. He doesn't have to help. So Papa tells Billy, you don't have to help. I've got the chores. It's hunting season. You're going to be up late, right? And he said there weren't too many chores to do. So Papa could take care of them. Okay. What must Billy tell his parents before hunting? Claire?
Barry is going just in case something happens.
Right. They want to know where he's going to go hunt that night, so if something happens, they know where to look. Okay. What made Billy feel big? Brendan?
He talks to me like
Say that again.
he talks to me like I was a man.
Yeah, he's talking about his dad, right? His dad is talking to him like he's a man and not a child anymore. So that makes Billy feel good, and it makes him feel like he is growing up, right? Okay. What made Billy feel unsure about hunting? Kenny?
Mom was worried.
Yeah, Mom was worried, right? She was used to him going out during the day, but now he's going to go out at night, and it's a little different. So she's a little worried, and that makes Billy worry as well.
Miss Mom,
Yes.
what is things for question
Which one?
4? Question 4.
Mama's worried. When the family went out on the porch, what surprise did they get? Surprise did they get? Jackson?
The dogs were
Yeah, those dogs were waiting, right? Ready to go. What kind of night was it? Sean?
A beautiful, slow, and frosty night.
Yeah, it said you could see the moon and the stars. It was peaceful, right? The air was frosty, so it was a good night for hunting. When the dogs bawled to say they were on the trail of a coon, what did Billy do? What did he do? A couple of things here he did. Nick?
Well, didn't he like go behind a tree at one point?
He might have. I think he was
Yeah.
trying to kind of let the dogs do right what they needed to do and to be successful. But what else did he do? Brendan?
I got like a paragraph. I don't know why he cried, but I did. Wild I again.
Yeah, so he did cry. Right, let's talk about that. Why do you think he cried? He's like, I don't know why. What do you think he cried for?
This brings me back up to him getting the dogs.
Oh, okay. Where he's getting the dogs? Yeah, because he cried then too, didn't he?
Yeah.
So was it a sad cry?
No.
No, what was it? He was happy, right? Here his dogs were on the trail of this coon and it made him feel good, right? He worked hard and what he wanted to do was happening. What else did he do? So he cried. Not because he was sad, but because he was happy, right? What else, Kenny?
He dropped his axe and he almost dropped his electric.
Okay. Something else. Sean?
He was surprised, like the Barky and the dog kind of surprised.
Okay, startled him. Didn't he also encourage those dogs?
Yeah.
Once they started to tell him they were on the trail, he was yelling and encouraging them, right? He was just as excited as they were. When Dan and Ann came to Billy for help, what did he do? Sean?
He didn't help because the dogs need to learn how to do it themselves.
Right, he was trying to get them to continue and to remember their training, right? He didn't want to help them because he didn't want them to rely on him all the time. Who finally found the trail of the coon? Nick?
Dan?
Yep, little Ann found the trail. What was unique about the sycamore the dogs trapped the coon in? Of course, it would be this one, right, Adam?
It was the one he always walked by.
Right, it was, he called it the big sycamore, I think, didn't he, or the big tree or something. So it was the tallest tree in the forest, right? It was the biggest one there. I think 11, what had Billy named the tree, the big tree?
Yeah.
How did Billy solve the problem?
Wait, you skipped the
No, what had Billy named the tree, the big tree? How did Billy solve the problem? What did he decide he was going to do, Kenny?
Cut it down?
Yeah, he was going to chop down that tree. So, see how successful he is, right? When Papa found Billy, what did he say? John?
Are you alright?
He asked if he was all right, right? Everybody was kind of worried because he hadn't come back. Kenny?
You told him to go somewhere else somehow? Yeah.
I don't know that I told him to go somewhere else. I think he said to leave the tree, right? Not to chop it down because it was so big. But why did Billy want to chop this tree down? He insisted on staying and continuing. Why, Nick?
Because he made deals with dogs, he said that they could get it there and he'll do the rest.
Right. So he said, I made a deal with my dogs. They told him if they could get this raccoon up in the tree that I would take care of the rest. So he didn't want to disappoint his dogs, right? They worked hard. They were successful. So he wanted to show them that they had done a good job. And if he gave up, he was afraid the dogs would give up. Okay. I guess that gives us 14, right? Right as Billy refused to go home.
Yeah.
Okay, because he made that deal with the dogs and he wanted to chop the tree down. How will Papa help with the situation?
Wait, what?
How will Papa help? He made a bargain with his dogs. So he wants to get the tree down. Sean?
He offered to stop at the tree for a while he went and got breakfast.
Okay, what else? I don't think he does that. He decides to do it himself, though. Yeah. Brendan?
He will send his older sister down with food.
Yeah, he's gonna have his sister bring him some lunch. And what else? Who else is he gonna talk to? Nick? Who has all the ideas?
Papa?
Yeah, Grandpa. He said he would talk to Grandpa. Papa's gonna go talk to Grandpa and see
Yeah.
if maybe he's got any ideas about this big tree.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did the sister want to look at Billy's eyes? Why, Brendan?
Because she thought he was crazy sick.
Right, she wanted to make sure he wasn't going crazy, and if she looked at his eyes, she could decide that. What ideas do you have for Billy? What would you have done? So some thoughts. He's trying to chop this big tree down. It's exhausting, but he really wants to do it. What would you have done? Or what do you think Billy should do? Sean?
I think that Billy should not have made a promise with his dog and just said, I'll try to do it, but I might not be able to.
Okay.
And he did not make, and if he did not make a promise, he would not have to cut down the tree and feel bad about it.
All right. John?
Maybe he has to find like a better item to chop down the trees.
Okay. See if there's something else that would work better. Good. Brendan?
Tape. So not really tape anything, but try to cut like an angle, like a kind of a triangle.
Oh, how they,
And then,
yeah.
Like, go as deep as you can and try to push. And when
Ah.
it starts to fall, go away as far as you can.
Okay. So get it going and then give it a push maybe. That would help. Okay. Kenny?
Sharpen the axe and come back.
Oh, maybe he's been chopping a while, hasn't he? Eli, you got some thoughts back there?
What kind of Kenny said, he could sharpen the axe, and if that doesn't work, you can push it with something like a truck or a car.
Okay.
He can't drive.
All right. Maybe use some other equipment. Okay. Josh? Okay, we're listening.
You could take a pair of like a wood board and then like sharpen that.
Okay. Using again different tools, right? Trying to figure something else out, Hunter?
Maybe use double axes.
Maybe. Maybe again, different tools, right, Nick?
He could try to like dig up the roots from under it with like a shovel.
I suppose he could. Sounds like it's a pretty big tree.
Or you could take the tree and you could hit it with the shovel.
Oh, let's go back to this page. There we go. All right, so chapter 8. Let me find here. For chapter 8, we're going to talk about visualization. What is that word? We've talked about it before. I don't think I have the poster back there, but we've talked about it. What does that mean, Maya? Right. So you're picturing, as you read this story, you should be kind of picturing it in your mind, right? You're kind of making a movie in your mind as you read this story. That's what visualization is. Okay, so today we're going to go back and we're going to look, or you're going to go back and look at chapter 8, maybe find a section of chapter 8, not all of it, okay, that maybe was your favorite part or you thought was most interesting, okay, that you could visualize. I want you to read it again, that section. Okay, you're going to read it again, and you're going to really think about the details and the things that you see in your mind as you're reading it. So here, in our assignment, I mentioned to reread your favorite part, focusing on visualizing what you're reading. What do the characters look like? So if you pick the scene with Papa and Billy, you're going to visualize both those characters. If you pick a scene where it's just Billy and the dogs, then you're going to visualize those two characters. What do they look like? Okay? Keep in mind their surroundings. What's the setting? What's happening around them? Okay? What sounds or what other things might be in that area where he's at? Okay? Think about all those things. That sounds, things around him. It says what expressions are on their faces. So how is he looking at that moment that you're visualizing and writing and drawing a picture of it? What do their clothes look like? What colors are in the setting? Okay? After you've read a section of chapter 8, you're going to take that and you're going to draw it. Whether you use paper, I have paper back there if you want to use regular paper, or if there's an app on your iPad that you want to use. Okay, but either way, you should include lots of details.
So any part of chapter.
Okay, any part of chapter 8. Okay, it should be colored. Okay, you should have some coloring done to it. I don't want to just see a pencil drawing. Okay, because that's not giving me the details. Okay, what does that big sycamore tree look like? Okay, what do the dogs look like? Are they clean? Do they have spots of mud on them? How do they look? Okay, in that section that you're reading. So this gives you some details about how or what. I have a typo, so I was gonna fix it here. What you need to do in terms of receiving full credit. Oh, no, I can't find it.
Wait, Miss Long, you can change the name of it?
Yes, I can. Alright, so then it also asks you, once you're done with that picture, you need to make sure you include at least 5 sentences telling me a little bit about the scene that you picked, okay? So I know, maybe give me a page number, tell me what was happening in that particular scene that you drew. Okay, this shouldn't be a 5 minutes and I'm done kind of thing. This should be, I'm gonna read this page, I'm gonna maybe jot some things down that I wanna include in my picture, and you're gonna include lots of details, okay? So that's today's assignment, making sure you have this visualization, and then you wanna make sure chapter 8 is fully read and all of those questions are answered, okay? This will then get submitted back here. I see I have one already submitted back to the visualization assignment. Okay, so there's nothing necessarily to upload. You just use an app or paper. Okay, question, Kenny?
How are we supposed to write down a page number?
You might be able to like count the pages. Like maybe it was page 4 within chapter 8. It was like the 4th page in chapter 8. I just, aren't they sectioned off?
You could say
It's
which
just one
paragraph.
You could give me a paragraph,
It's just
sure.
one big long, and it's just all.
You could give me a paragraph then. Eli?
What, like, can we make predictions, like, in the visualization? Or
No, we're not making predictions. It's what is happening in the picture. That's what we're doing. It's the visualization that you have in your mind of what's happening at that particular point. Okay, we're not making any predictions. It's what the author is giving us. What do you see? Okay, think about if you were producing this as a movie, you're making the movie, what would these characters look like? What would this scene in your movie look like?
Isn't there a movie on
Okay, yes. Kenny?
Also, one time we were cutting down a tree, and like we didn't even cut it down. We literally just tied a rope around it, and then hooked it up to my grandpa's truck and just drove the truck.
That works sometimes. All right, other questions right now? All right, chapter 8 visualization is what you're working on.